Hey there, we are back for the final part of this finishing series. We've been working through finishing out products that are tooled up here, and we talked about all the steps along the way. As soon as I got done tooling, we put a coat of neat's foot oil on them, and then from there, if we were doing dyed borders or dyed backgrounds, dyed borders, we did that. We did the painted backgrounds, all of that after we put the coat of oil on there. Let that dry in, put our finishes on there, or put our dyes and colors on there. After that, we put a lacquer down. We used the RTC for a lacquer, let that dry. Now we're set. In this video here, we're going to do an antique finish. And I use an antique finish on probably 99.9% of the stuff that I tool. I love the look that it gives. It brings out, highlights all of the small detail work that you've been doing. So we're going to put an antique finish on, and then I'm going to show you a final coat that I put over top to protect and seal all that stuff in. And as far as dry time in between there, we're going to hit them both in this video. So when we are live here, you'll see how I just roll right on and do both of these steps. But really important, the kind of antique I use is just antique finish, not the gel antique. Okay, there's a difference. The gel will actually say gel on it. Not a big fan of this stuff. The gel seems to bleed right through all of your lacquer and resist, and I'm not a fan of that. That's a completely different look that you could be going after, but for the look that I go for, this is what I use. It's just this paste. You can kind of see that consistency of it. What we're going to apply it with, just again, a scrap of sheepskin. The stuff is great for everything that you're putting on there. We're going to dab a little bit in there. The couple things when I do this, I'm going to do these one piece at a time. We're going to get it all there, and we're not going to waste any time wiping it off. And I'm just going to use, this is an old dish rag. Another thing that works good is like old socks. You got holes in your socks, instead of throwing them out, turn them inside out, and those work really good for wiping the stuff off too. But we're going to just get in here and kind of work in little circles and make sure we're getting down in all the little cuts and cracks. And this is a short enough piece here that I'm going to go ahead and just do the whole thing all together. If I'm doing a whole belt, which I'll actually show that, I have a whole belt sitting here I need to do. We'll jump over on Instagram here and do that on there, but we'll do that in little sections so we don't go too far on it. Now I'm going to come right back, wipe that off. So see how that resist is let me wipe that antique right off of all the smooth leather, but it's sitting down in those cracks and all the little cuts and stuff. Now there's still some excess there. I'm gonna keep going a little bit here and get a little more of that out. I don't want to leave a ton sitting down in there. There we go. Okay. One thing I found is on your background areas, for these dyed backgrounds, I do try to really get in and get a lot of that antique off of there. Because when we put our final coat on there, that can it can cause a little discoloring and lightening up of the antique if you leave a bunch of it down in there. So I try to get it out of those background spots the best we can with the dyed backgrounds. I'll show you in a second on the painted backgrounds. I don't sit there and scrub on the painted backgrounds, but I do that on those dyed backgrounds there. So we'll set that one aside. Show you right again here. Let's roll on to this one. We have a dyed border and an antiqued background. And this is where that background's going to really kind of pop with the antique getting in there, especially where we bar grounded that. Appreciate you guys jumping on here. Good morning, good morning. Oh, you guys taking your time to watch live here. Nice thing about watching live is if you have a question or comment, shoot it out to me. I'll try to address those. I seen something come up earlier. I'll scroll back and make sure I didn't miss that. Try to address what we got going here. There we go. Check out those background stuff. That gives a really neat antique look to that. All right. Hello, hello. Jessica, Andy, Josh, how are you guys? Appreciate you guys taking your time to watch with me here this morning. Pat, that'd look cool on some spur straps. Yes, it would, wouldn't it? All right, slide that over. I'm going to go to this one. This is just our natural antique look. Again, this says our oil and our resist on it, and then we'll go to our one with the painted backgrounds. And Haley's asking about the about my resist on here. So if you missed our resist video in the series here, what we used is RTC. This is all these pieces here have had a coat of RTC on them. And I let that dry. They've actually it's been drying for a few days since we did that video, but kind of my rule of thumb that I like to follow is give it an hour. I'll put that lacquer on there and then let it sit for an hour. By then, everything should be dry, ready to go. I've came back a lot sooner than that and got away with it, but if you let it sit an hour, you'll be safe. All right, look at this transformation here. It just shows you kind of the magic of the antique and what what it'll do. Good morning. Morning from Michigan. All right. Just bought a antique paste that's neutral color. You know, I don't know about adding dye or paint to a neutral antique. I've never done that. I always get the Phoebe's antique. It's that like what I use is Phoebe's mahogany antiques. What I really like to use. So I don't know about adding dye to a neutral antique. I've never done that and don't have any experience to that. So I'm definitely happy to help and answer questions where I can, but I am not going to lie to you and make answers up. So I don't know the answer to that. Okay, Eugene says, using the paste antique, do you have to touch up your paint? Oh, where'd it go? Do you have to touch up your paint afterward? The paste kind of pulls some of the paint and resist. Well, we'll show you here. If we do this right, we won't have to touch it up. Ideally, it won't pull the paint off of there. Sometimes I'll go back and touch a dyed background up just to really crisp that up. And I will touch a paint background up if I need to, if it does pull off of there. But I'm going to show you here in a second. When I will antique this, when I go to wipe it off, I'm not going to sit and really scrub over top of my paint areas. I'm going to do that just a little bit more ginger. I mean, it is lacquered and it's sealed in there, but we don't want to sit and scrub on that because it can pull off a little bit. Now, once we put the antique and then our final finish on there, I don't have a problem with that paint wearing off in a really short time. I mean, it takes a lot of wear to get through there. But if you have to touch it up, you can afterwards, and it's not a big deal. Tony asking about the previous videos. Yes, there's a couple things you can do on the previous videos. One, you can kind of roll back through my our page here on Facebook, and they are going to still live there. But the other place you can catch them is they're getting loaded. I don't have them quite all up yet. They should all be up here within the next day or two. But YouTube, my YouTube channel is just under my name, Joe Mealing, M-E-L-I-N-G. And these videos are all living there, and I'm going to have them all in their own little playlist or series or whatever the right term is on there. I'm more of a leather guy than a tech guy, so I sometimes use the wrong words with some of the platforms. But yes, either one of those places, you can go back and catch those. Okay, so now when I wipe this off here, I'm going to wipe across there. I'm still going to keep wiping to get it out of where I want, but I'm just a little bit more ginger about it over top of that paint. I can still go over it and rub it out of there, but I'm not pushing down as hard as I would like when I was doing that natural antique backgrounds. And I'll show you a little bit of a closer up on this paint here in just a second once I get this out of here. Oops. Okay, so you can see that doesn't, we didn't pull any paint off of there. Everything stayed really crisp and clear there. Again, not that it doesn't happen. It's happened to me before too, where you'll pull kind of just a little bit, especially off like the high side of that bubbled area in the back. Not a problem. You can go back, touch up with your paint over top of that, and it doesn't hurt anything. And you don't have to go through and like try to re-lacquer over your paint and all that. Just touch it up a little bit and you're fine. Okay, now that we have all of our antique on, again, if you have any questions on that antique, shoot them at me. I'll try to answer that. But I got one more step I'm going to do, and I wanted to just do this right on here on the same live instead of splitting these videos up, because it's a pretty quick process anyways. And I wanted you to see how fast I can come right back and put this final coat on here without having a problem with it. So just kind of put these right back in order that we had them, and we'll work right through them again. This last coat that I put on is going to be a Phoebe's product as well. It's Resin, just a neutral resin. I don't know, maybe they have a colored one or a stained one. I don't know. I've never used it if they do. But resin, that's what I like for this final coat. Just give it a little shake. Let's see. You're switching from the paste. Now, what I just used here, just to be clear, I see that comment coming in there, Eugene. This antique finish, this is like the paste. This is not the gel. This is the thicker paste, okay? That is what I used, was that thicker paste. It is not the gel. I do not like the results on the gel. And I don't feel bad about saying that. I told the guy at Phoebe's that myself, so I don't feel bad about telling you that. But, okay, this resin that we're using, it's kind of a milky color, and it doesn't have a real, I don't know, chemical smell to it. It's pretty neutral as far as the smell and stuff goes. We're going to be using just the scrap of sheepskin again. Great resource to have. And then this is just a kind of the soft blue shop paper towels. Works pretty good. About anything for a reg be fine. But I see a couple more questions coming in. I'm going to get this first one going here and then check back on your questions there. What we're going to do is just get a dab of that on there. Now watch this. Come right over top. Now don't panic, this is planned to pull more off. Look at that. See, I pull a little bit extra of that antique off. Now, I'm not worried about getting down in those details there. You can see that kind of foamy, milky stuff that it leaves. That's fine. Leave it. Let it sit. What we've done is we've taken that last little bit of antique off of our smooth leather and really crisp that up. And it just cleans that leather, that extra antique off there, and almost liquefies the rest of it and pulls it back down in those cracks, in the cuts and cracks and everything even more. And that's going to set that in there and seal it off and give for a really crisp finish to it. So we're going to do that again here, right on down the line. And you can see that pull off, and it'll even pull just a touch of any extra pigment on your dye, and look at that, just crisp that color up. Makes that a good, nice, even dark color to that. Again, let that milky stuff sit and dry in there. We'll come back and show those here in just a second. Come right here to the natural finish one. Okay, wipe it off the smooth, let that sit. Okay, now right over the paint here. Again, I'm going to wipe over that, come back with this. I'm not going to scrub down really super hard over my paint, always just a precaution. I mean, we've been putting these sealants, these coats on here, but let's not flirt with disaster and really scrub on top of that paint, right? Okay, lay that on there. Now again here. I'm not pushing down very hard there, just kind of lightly let that come across. Okay, we're going to let that sit, kind of let those kind of even up just a minute here. I'm going to double check on some comments here and see if I can answer some questions while we're on here live before we move on and show you there. Okay, switching from the paste. Yep, that's, or switching from the gel to the paste. Okay, after you're doing anything, you put your protective resist. How do you keep from having it remove your antique and spreading it over your work? So Sam, hopefully that answered your question there as I was doing that. I do actually pull that antique off the top of it there. Is tan coat the same resist in cleanup method, or is there a big reason you use the others compared to tan coat? So my experience with tan coat, Chris, is that tan coat does not give you as good of a seal. My experience with tan coat is you can still oil through it, all that stuff, which I'm wanting this good protective, lock it in kind of, sealing effect of this stuff. And I'm not downplaying tan coat. Some people find a really good application for it. I just personally don't like it for what I do. It doesn't have enough of the sealing properties for me. I have not used it as a final coat over top of my antiques, like where I just use the Resolene. I've tried it earlier for the resist and stuff, and it does not resist like these other products do. It allows things to bleed through there. So, which is beneficial in certain cases. I know Randy Severe Brothers Saddleries, he kind of introduced me to the product and worked great on those saddles where it gives that nice, clean, finished look, yet you can still oil through that if need be. So, And Sadillac, another product there. Sadillac's going to be a little bit different. It's going to come in a spray can. I have used that before on stuff. It leaves a little bit of a shinier finish to that, and almost like a thicker coat on it. I hate to say the word plasticky look, but it gives that real crisp finish on there. So that's that's just going to be a different look to it. It does have the advantage of the spray can, but that's an advantage or a disadvantage. The advantage of it is you're not rubbing over your paint. The disadvantage, you can deal with some air bubbles and things like that. Okay, some of your experiences on the tan coat getting tacky over time. Julie, yeah, I'll start over just as soon as I end this video. It'll start back over for you. Shane, good morning. The swamps of Oklahoma, right on. By the way, congratulations on the mustache bash. Kind of on spot with the mustache there. Looks great. But, all right, so hopefully this information has been helpful. As you can see here, that extra little kind of milky residue down in our cuts has set in there and really just gives that nice finished crisp look to that. That it kind of builds up that antique right in where you want it, but takes it off the smooth areas. Look at that, just a natural antique finish, no dye work whatsoever on that piece, but that antique gets down in those background spots. Love that look. Their painted backgrounds still makes that pop. As far as this piece goes here, nothing's came off. I don't have to touch that piece up at all. So appreciate you guys being on here, taking your time. If you've missed any of this series and want to catch them, again, you can look back through our page or check us out on YouTube. It's just under my name, Joe Mealing, M-E-L-I-N-G, and we'll have this whole series uploaded on there. I got the first few on there already, but the rest of these will get loaded on there, and they'll all be in their own playlist, and we'll keep throwing stuff on there. So any questions, thoughts, things you want me to cover, go over in future videos, let me know. If you are in the Leather Life classroom, we are going to start a new deal in there today as well. So be looking for that, and we will catch you guys next time. Take care.